The Perpetrators, Cultural Implications Concerning Revenge, Squid the Problem Solver, Promise Road Part 2, Out in the Field, Charismatic Objects. If there was any doubt that Swart, Bowden, Slade, and Yost were involved in the murder in its infancy of our first attempt at a float, it was dispelled the next day at practice. "How's your float looking?" Yost asked, a slimy grin sliding across his greasy face. "Hey," said Hyder, "how come the only time you seem happy is when someone else isn't?" Yost's grin widened. "Just the way God made me, I guess," he said smugly. "By the way," he added, "you recognize the shoes that ninja was wearing?" He held up a clunky pair of Nikes. Slade and Bowden also couldn't help themselves from divulging the secret of their involvement in the attack, if they'd ever intended to keep it a secret. "What'd you guys do when we left?" asked Bowden. "What'd people say?" He was giddy. It wasn't a good look for him. My substantial respect for Bowden was quickly eroding. "You can tell us," said Slade conspiratorially. I was certainly tempted just then to swap allegiances, to transition between loyal freshman float builder to loyal freshman runner, and confide in Bowden and Slade. Logic suggested I side with power. However, the steely gaze of Leonardo Chavez stopped me. Some say that North Americans are soft when it comes to our responses to personal slights and signs of disrespect. Some say we live in such a civilized time and place that we've lost our taste for anything close to real revenge. The American way is to let bygones be bygones. We're too busy for revenge. It's too sloppy, and the repercussions too great. At its most intense, we sick our lawyers on our transgressors and let a proxy do our dirty work. However, if you want to witness revenge done old school, you need only travel south, a few thousand miles south. The hot-blooded means found in South and Central America are not so quick to forgive and forget. Exhibit A, Leonardo Chavez, second-generation El Salvadoran, was stony in his silence that day. Swart noticed and spoke up. "Come on, Leonardo," he said, a sly grin on his face. "It's tradition." "We'll start a new tradition. You'll see," Leonardo told them calmly. "You just try coming after the senior float, little man," said Slade. "We got an army waiting for anyone who tries." Leonardo glared at him. It was just us bluebirds together that day on our 50-minute run. I knew better than to try to talk Leonardo out of his quest for revenge. Our saving grace seemed to be that, first of all, we didn't know where the senior float was. Second, we didn't have any way of getting there even if we did. Squid screwed up both those blessings within minutes. "I know where their float is," he huffed as we ran through the brilliant afternoon sunlight, our shadows stretching out across the street before us. "It's out at Johnston's farm. It's just past the little bridge on Moontown Road." "We still can't get there," I said, thankful we weren't old enough to drive. "I can drive," said Squid. "I got my license last week. I barely passed because my parallel parking was so bad, but—" "You're a sophomore," I nearly shouted. "They didn't wreck your float." Leonardo shot me a look. "What do you care?" His voice was quiet and steely. "I'm just saying," I fumbled. "It seems like Squid wouldn't want to get involved." "Oh," said Squid, "the sophomores don't like me much anyway. Consider me a mercenary." "What do we have to pay you?" asked Hyder. "Nothing," said Squid. "You don't really know what a mercenary is, do you?" said Hyder. Suddenly, Leonardo stopped running. We all slowed to a walk and turned back to him. "Let's turn around," he said. "Why?" asked Keene. "I thought we were going to run in the park." "Let's go run out on Promise Road," Leonardo suggested. "I want to see something." One thing about Leonardo, when he was in that kind of a mood, people just did what he said. It didn't matter that he was just over 5 feet tall. We turned and began running out towards the hinterlands. My stomach was churning. I couldn't figure a way out of what was sure to be a bloodbath without looking like a complete wimp. So I went along and kept my mouth shut. It's true, the greatest of all fears is not death. The greatest of all fears is looking bad in front of other people. That was the only reason I didn't speak out. It was still there, exactly as I had expected, and it took my breath away. It took all our breath away. It confirmed two things. That Bowden's story about the man with the gun and Slade that he'd told us at the start of the season was true, and that Leonardo Chavez was very serious about revenge. The corn was brown and dry and loomed overhead. It crackled and whispered as we shouldered through it. The skid marks on the road had indicated to us the spot where Slade had taken the shotgun from the man, and logic dictated, although applying logic to any of Slade's actions seemed a risky proposition, that he would have thrown it into the cornfield not far from where he finished beating the man's truck with it. We spread out and walked into the corn, and within 5 minutes, Keene shouted out, "I found it!" And there it was. It was a 12-gauge shotgun, a Remington. It was old and looked to have been well used. It was heavy, the blue steel of the barrel cool to the touch. The walnut stock was scarred. Keene, who seemed to know something about guns, slid the chamber open with a metal clack, and a red plastic shell popped out. Leonardo picked up the shell. He tapped on the brass bottom. "How's it work?" "There's shot, like little lead balls in there," explained Keene. "When you shoot it, the plastic shell stays in the gun and the little lead balls spread out, so you can shoot a bird." He pinched open the top of the plastic shell and poured some shot in his palm. "It would be nearly impossible to shoot a bird with a rifle. The shot spreads out, like 5 or 10 feet as it moves away from the gun." We all touched the gun, treating it like some strange magic. A gun is a truly charismatic object. Guns simply draw one's attention. Think of it this way. You bring a gun into a room full of guys, and they know you're not nuts and going to use it on them, and set it on a table. Everyone shuts up and stares at the gun. Pretty soon, somebody's holding the gun. It's only a matter of time before someone shoots the gun. Guns are absolutely first on most boys' list of charismatic objects. Numbers 2 and 3 are typically motorcycles and pornography. As we stood in a circle, reaching out and touching it, there seemed to be an almost palpable buzz surrounding us. The whispering of the cornstalks and the drone of the insects seemed to rise in volume. Everything about the moment was heightened. "We can't run back with it," said Leonardo, breaking the spell. "Somebody'll take it away from us." For a second, I foolishly believed we were saved. There was no way anyone was going to allow us to hang onto that weapon, should they spot it with us. And it was 2 miles back to the school. Some of it through the busy streets of town. Then Squid opened his mouth again. "I can get it," he said. "We'll just leave it here. I'll come get it when it gets dark. Then I'll come get you guys." I couldn't think of a way to argue against that plan, especially not with Leonardo, whom I'm certain was beginning to think me a potential hiccup, and his plans for revenge staring daggers at me.